This is Logistics. I'm down here at hospital. They've roped me into signing some CDs for them for the album that's actually out now, Crash Bang Wallop. I'm going to go through each track on the vinyl, the lovely vinyl which is here, and kind of explain, you know, the inspiration for each track, the way I went about making it, etc. Okay, Warehouse, track A on the LP. After playing at the Warehouse project in Manchester, I sort of began thinking a bit more about, you know, old warehouse parties and the vibe that, you know, you get in those places, and obviously the music that was played in there, and I really wanted to capture that kind of acid house, sort of quite rugged and you know, the dingy sort of warehouse feel. And yeah, I started off sort of collecting samples for Warehouse like a while ago, eventually went back in, started working on the track, and yeah, for a long time it was just like a loop, kind of ravey loop with the pads and the piano, and eventually it evolved into what it is now. Went through kind of different beats and different bass lines for it, and eventually settled on that kind of gritty break that's in there now. Track B, Eastern Promise, this was something that I'd written prior to doing a tour out in Japan. Did like about 5-6 gigs out there, and yeah, it's just one of those tunes that sort of really worked for me when I was playing out there. You know, I was getting rewinds a lot out there, and whenever I think back to that tour, it's the one tune that I think of. And yeah, I remember playing at a unit in Tokyo and just getting a really, really good response from it, and ever since then I've been really passionate about it. I mean, it took a while to convince the hospital because initially Tony said he didn't like it, and I think it wasn't until I played it at Hospitality in Brighton, at Digital, that Tony sort of turned around to me and said, okay, we've got to put that on the album. And I gave him a little I told you so look. Right, moving on to Salvation, third track on the LP. Again, like another ravey track. This one was actually done right towards a deadline. Often find myself kind of staying up all night towards the end of an album deadline, trying to write new music, just, you know, cover other angles and stuff. And yeah, with this particular track, I remember sort of sitting on my computer, falling asleep, like desperately trying to keep my eyes open to finish it. But yeah, it really sort of came together in a few hours, and it was just one of those tunes that clicked, and everything started to fall into place with it. Yeah, and again, it's harking back to the old ravey days of acid house and early jungle. Track D on the album, Platinum, this is actually something that was started prior to me signing with Hospital, so that's going back, I think, like 6 years now. And again, another tune that's gone through like various stages. It's kind of, I mean, it's always had the same beat program to it, which is like a beat program that's become quite popular recently. When I went back to it, I was kind of annoyed I didn't get it out earlier, in that, you know, everyone's done that now, and it's, you know, not seen to be original. But yeah, it's one of the tracks I'm really happy with. It initially had like a big house vocal on it. This is kind of prior to me being aware of sample issues, because I was so young, yeah, and naive whilst making the tune. But yeah, the track was actually re-vocal by Terry Pace, who's a wicked vocalist. Worked with a few times before, did call me back on the first album with her. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way it came out. You know, she's someone I definitely plan to do more work with, and yeah, delivers every time for me. Transporter, track E on the album, it's a funny one, this, because I really wasn't into this when I made it, and Tony and Lincoln, London Electricity and High Contrast, were both really into it, playing it a lot, and it took quite a long time for me to be convinced, you know, that it was worthy of going on the album, and now it's probably one of my favourite tunes. But yeah, this was a track that I did in literally a day, after a very long weekend, and you know, quite kind of knackered and a little bit down with the world, you know, and I just went in, made it in like a day. And aside from like revocaling, again, there was more like vocal work to be done on this with a guy called Pat Fulgoni. But yeah, it's something that I'm really happy with. I think it's got a different vibe to everything else in the album, and yeah, nice one, Tony and Lincoln, for convincing me to put it on there. Okay, track F on the album, Murderation. Let me see, this one was, again, another track that was done in like one evening. Just sort of sat down, grabbed a load of sounds together and just rolled it out. I usually find I work best when I'm kind of quite tired and in the middle of the night, you know, and you hit that subconscious kind of zone. And Murderation was definitely one of those tracks that just sort of came together in a few hours. I woke up the next morning, couldn't quite remember how the track sounded, pressed play and was like, oh, okay, that's all right. Cut it to dub plate, started my sets with it, and it kind of got a really good reaction. So, yeah, again, it's another one of those tracks that just sort of fell into place. And it's kind of my little nod to like old Johnny L stuff, really. You know, the way he'd use those little vocals, just like a little snippet with a bit of delay on it, and it just had this really kind of raw edge to it. So yeah, that's kind of my little homage to him. Yeah, When It Rains It Pours, track G on the LP, is something that actually started life as a 4/4 kind of techno tune. It's a really deep kind of soulful techno tune, and I was really happy with the techno tune, but you know, it's one of those things that I felt all the elements were really sort of worth playing with again, and chucking back into a drum bass tune. So I bounced all the parts, sort of made a 170 version of it. I think it's actually 168. But yeah, just like chucked all the sounds back together, and yeah, it's one of those things that I think the reason it sounds different is because it started life as a techno tune, and it's kind of quite easy to get stuck in a rut when writing drum bass, and I find that doing that gives you a different approach to stuff, and yeah, that's how that one came together. Track H on the LP, Repetition, is something that I think it was again done in a couple of days, and I actually had been touring out in New Zealand and Australia, went crate digging out there, and D-Bridge took me to one shop out in Auckland, I think. We went in, came out with a stack of vinyl. When I got home, couldn't really remember what anything sounded like, but went back through the vinyl, played a load of tracks, and sort of stumbled on a lot of good stuff that I hadn't really realised that I'd bought out there. But yeah, went about sort of getting all the sounds together, went in, made Repetition, and yeah, it's kind of my little post-New Zealand tour tune. So yeah, and another one that I sort of started sets with for quite a while, and yeah, based on that reaction, decided that it was probably worth it going on the LP. I've been Logistics. That was my track-by-track breakdown of Crash Bang Wallop. I will see you out on the road soon. Thanks.